What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and I am back with another preview as I look ahead to One Championship 166, which goes down over in Qatar this March 1st, Friday. It's a bit of an earlier time. I believe it's 12:30 for me. It is 7:30 Eastern time, I believe, and you can do the rest of the the computation yourself on that one. It's on the Watch One Championship website, watch.1fc.com, I believe it is, and yeah, I'm sure you'll check everywhere else around the world. And this is a really good card, if I'm being honest. Like, this is One Championship's answer, I think, to the PFL versus Bellator card from last week. Now, maybe not directly the answer to it, but I think it's a very, very good card. They've made probably the best title fights that they can make. Funnily enough, we have 3 rematches to top this card. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have Stam Fairtex on this card against Denise Zamwanga. That fight fell out. It's moved on to a card only a couple of weeks down the line. Tyree Tolo's grappling match is also off this card, but all in all, it's still a very, very, very good card with some, people have been wanting One Championship to give us top-level MMA fights. Well, they have given us top-level MMA fights in this, and I'm going to look ahead to 5 of the MMA fights on this card. Just to touch on what else is actually on it, because obviously we're going to concentrate on the mixed martial arts today. There is a catchweight boxing matchup between Query Al-Qatani and Mehdi Tatouth. There's a submission grappling match on as well, Kleber Souza against Osama Al-Moara. And there are a couple more Muay Thai bouts as well on this. You can check them out if that's the sort of thing you like. One of the standouts there, Ali Saladiev, is fighting Zakaria El-Jamaria, like Saladiev, and Shinya Suzuki as well is on against Han Zihao. So the MMA people will be happy, but the Muay Thai people, I think, will be happy as well. And the main card here is full with MMA, with those 3 championship rematches to top the card, and each one of them very interesting. I went back just before this and watched the 3 fights that had happened before. It made my life easier. I usually have to go and I have to watch specific fights for specific people. I don't really have to do that with this. Just watch the one fight back, and that's my work done. So I only had to watch the 3 fights for these 3. Although there was a bit more than that, but into it, as people will probably guess. The one thing I would say from all 3 fights, right? If you were to go on Sherdog and go, okay, I'm looking up Jared Brooks. You look at his last matchup. Okay, he won that fight against Pacio. You might think, yeah, he won it handy. What's next? Tang and Thanh Lee, my memory of that's a bit different now. My memory of that was also like, Tang kind of won that one handy enough. And the same with Anatoliy Malykhin against Reinier the Ritter. To varying degrees, I think all of those preconceptions have kind of changed on the rewatch of all 3 fights, and I'll explain why we get there and why that is as I go along here. All in all, though, I would say before we start here that this is a very good test, I think, for One Championship and how many people they can get in to watch this card, and how many people, I suppose, will be talking about it online and will be bang up for this card, because this is, the best of the best of what they have. Now, I think Stamp, as I said, falling out was an issue, and I think if that was there, we'd be talking about unmissable card altogether. I still think, honestly, it's an unmissable card. As someone who has covered One Championship non-stop for the last 2 years, and obviously has covered it before that as well, but doing a preview for all of the numbered cards and the prime cards for Sherdog here for the last over 2 years now, I think I have a pretty good read on who is the best fighter in One Championship, and who are the best fighters in each division, and who is their best champions and stuff. And like, it's very hard to say we don't have, at least 3, if not 4, of the top 5 or 6 fighters in One Championship in the top 3 fights in this card. And that is a lot. That's saying a lot. So there's some real talent on this. And I'll be very interested. I'm obviously recording this a little bit earlier on Sunday evening, so I'm looking forward to seeing the promotion for this, the push it gets, and whether the MMA community will get behind it. They really should. Honestly, they really should. In a similar way to the PFL versus Bellator last week, there was a very fun KSW card as well last week. I think people got behind. But this is high quality, like real high quality stuff. And I'm massively looking forward to it. So, you know, I'll tell you whether it's One Championship or Cage Warriors or, you know, KSW or the UFC, if it's good or bad, I'll tell you straight out. And telling you straight out, this is very good. So let's get into it and let's break down each of the fights here. I'm going to start with the Reinier versus Malykhin, whose name I always absolutely mess up, but we'll go with it anyway. I'm intrigued to see this rematch. Now, this fight is going to be taking place at the middleweight limit for One Championship, which is closer to the light heavyweight limit, obviously, as we know, for everywhere else, because One Championship do their weight cutting differently to everybody else. So if you're talking about a heavyweight going down to middleweight, it's not your normal heavyweight. It's not like, you know, Derek Lewis cutting down to 185. It's not that. It's more like, you know, Derek Lewis trying to get down to 205. Maybe not completely that, but I think people kind of understand the way it's going there now. So it's not as big, maybe a disadvantage. Obviously, Malykhin having been the champion at heavyweight and light heavyweight, which he still is. The Reinier was the champion at light heavyweight and middleweight. Still the middleweight champion. Lost the belt to Malykhin for the light heavyweight. So it's a bit convoluted and complicated there, but basically these two lads hold the three belts. They've already fought for one, now they're fighting for the second one. So that's the first thing we need to talk about here before we get to the last fight, before we get to the next fight. Will it have an effect on Malykhin? The last time he would have had to make a certain weight, whether that would have been, you know, 225 or whatever it might be to get the light heavyweight. There isn't that upper limit, which, you know, he's not the biggest heavyweight in the world, and I'm sure it'll be a little bit harder to get down here. I don't think it'll be a big issue for him. Now, we will see. You know, we will see whether it's a big issue for him or not. When he weighs in, we will see it's a big issue for him or not. Whether he makes a weight, we will see it's a big issue for him or not. On how he walks out and how he looks in the fight itself, that's a big question holding over this fight. So I wanted to mention that first off, and to see, you know, where the cards fall on that one. The second is going back and watching their first fight. So I literally watched this, you know, half an hour ago here. And first, look, okay, the first thing about it, right, Malykhin did dominate the fight, right? He hurt him early, which I'll get back to in a second. He continued to hurt him. He hurt him pretty badly, and he finished him, right? So the Reinier got small bits, which I'll talk about in a second, but this fight was, if you were to score this fight as a whole, you know, from where it stopped, you're talking 10-8 Malykhin, right? That's where you're going with this, if you're to score it as, you know what I mean, around or whatever. He dominated this fight. The one saving grace I would think I would have for the Reinier, right? So not saving grace, right? If you're looking for the Reinier and thinking, okay, Jesus, he took a bad beating in that, how is this going to turn around? Okay, the weight class being lower absolutely favors him. We'll see if it's a massive disadvantage for Malykhin. We will see on that. But the other part of it is watching back that fight, very early, the Reinier was taken out of his game. So I would say within 10 seconds, maybe even a little bit less, the Reinier got hit with like a massive kind of, it was kind of a, you know, one of those bolo punches, like the right hand uppercut type of shot. And in my opinion, he wasn't the same for the rest of the fight. In my opinion, that was kind of the end of him putting out a winnable performance in that fight. And that's just, now some people might disagree with that, and absolutely, if you want to, absolutely do, but that's what I think. The other side of that, then, okay, right, you want to say that was caused by Malykhin. So it's not an excuse, it's just what happened. What the Reinier needs to do in this fight is avoid that at all costs. Don't get hit early. Don't let him land his big shot. You need to land something big early. You need to get a big takedown, maybe a big shot, or do nothing, right? Stay as far away from him as you possibly can. Fight on the outside. We'll talk about the Tang fight in a second, and how that went. But that's the sort of thing you need to do, right? Either make it big or make it very little. And don't make it big for Malykhin if you try to make it big for yourself. But I don't think that's the way to go. I think making it little is the way to go. Kick him from the outside. Stay away from him. Do not let him cut off the cage. He couldn't do that in the first, right? But how much of that was in the first fight? How much of that was down to him getting hit with that big shot early, right? It's actually hard to tell. This is pure speculation from me. We saw the fight. That's what happened in the fight. If he didn't land that big shot early, would he be able to have fought off? Would he be able to have thrown his jab a little bit more? Would he have been able to get a takedown or something like that? We'll never know, I suppose. But what happened was he didn't. He wasn't. The one or two other things that I saw from the Reinier that I liked in a destruction, really, was his ability to break the distance multiple times. His entries were very good. Just couldn't do anything with them. So I think if he set up those entries, if he, as I said, slowed it down, do less is more here, I think those entries might work a little bit better. Might catch him off time, might catch him blinking, and maybe be able to clinch him or take him down. The other point, he hit him once or twice pretty hard. He was able to catch him. He was clearly like that little bit, quicker and longer to the punch. Not necessarily quicker in every punch. I wouldn't say he's necessarily a faster fighter, even though Malykhin is, the heavyweight here. But I think there is a way there. Now, at the other side of it, right, I feel like I'm being very complimentary to Reinier the Reinier in a fight where he got destroyed. The other side of it, Malykhin was able to walk him down. The Reinier wasn't able to stop him. He was able to land a pile of shots. The Reinier wasn't able to stop any of them. He wasn't able to defend hardly any of his shots. He wasn't able to take him down. There was a small bit of clinching, not much. It was a real one-sided beatdown. But what I'm looking for coming in here, and what I'm speculating is how this fight can change, how it can be different this time. The likelihood, and maybe we get into it more in the betting show this week, is that it won't. The likelihood is that Malykhin will do again to him what he did the first time. But there's always a chance. And someone as good as the Reinier, if he can set up that takedown a little bit better, if he can land his shots a little bit better, make him pay a little bit more, he could have the chance. Like, if you haven't seen a lot of these lads before, let me just kind of maybe run through quickly what they are aside from the first fight. So the Reinier is a wrestler, and I was looking at my old notes for him actually, and the point I made previous to the first fight was he's very little setup, but he's fast, and that was an issue for him coming in here. I think that's something he's going to have to solve. Sorry, it was an issue for him coming into the last fight. I think it's something he's going to have to solve coming into this one. The guys from middleweight up usually can't stop that. They usually can't deal with his speed, but Malykhin really was. He just shucked him off multiple times. Look, he's been caught before. Big Dash nearly caught him in a guillotine. He's been hit with big shots before, but he's very good usually at kind of giving space but controlling the fight, which is odd in MMA. On the ground as well. Another thing which is odd in MMA is side control. Really good from side control. It's a position that has kind of died out a little bit. People love the half guard now more so. He loves the passes. He's nasty little elbows inside, kind of pushes in the face. Really good cardio as well. Not the best striking in the world, but he has a nice jab and he can hit hard. He's a I was going to say he's like Mackenzie Dern. I wouldn't go that far now, but she hits hard, he can hit hard. They have nice jabs enough. It's just the defensive part. It's the putting it together part that's the issue. It's funny, like for him, when I say he has power, he's only 3 knockouts in his career. I venture to guess if I was to look through him that a lot of them have been ground upon. But the thing is, he very rarely gives himself the chance. He might have to in this because of Malykhin. So Malykhin, the other side of it then, he's a pressure striker, very good overhand right, good jab, fast backhand after the jab as well. He's hooked to the body and his overhand combo is lovely. He's used to fighting. It's funny because the Ritter is, the Ritter is the guy who's from the lower weight class, but he's actually taller and somewhat bigger than Malykhin. And Malykhin's kind of used to that. He's not the biggest man in the world for his weight classes. He can offensively wrestle as well. Very fast, catches leg, big power everywhere. So those are that's the breakdown of both of the fighters. What's my pick? How am I going to look at it? I think Malykhin's going to win again. All of the options I gave you for the Ritter to change things up, there's none of them I massively believe in, Do I think he'd be able to establish a jab and, make him pay with maybe a right hand? No. Do I think he'd be able to circle around all the time? That's the most likely way of him changing it, but I don't think so. I think that's the most likely way with being slower, setting up the takedowns. If he can do that, he has a chance, but if he can't, Malykhin is going to run through him again, and I feel like that's what's going to happen here, and I think he'll be a three-way champion. Although, being that three-way champion is not an easy thing to do, and very few people have done it, so let's see how it rocks, and let's see how it goes. Fight after that then is a rematch between Jared Brooks and Joshua Pacio. Again, they've last fought in December of 2022. It was the last fight for Brooks. Pacio has been in there with Mansour Malykhin, who was fought a couple of weeks ago and is a very, very good fighter, and he beat him via decision in October of last year. Watching back their last fight, again, it was a lot closer of a fight than maybe you remember. Like, Brooks landed some strikes early, and Pacio threw a leg kick and got taken down, and you're thinking at that stage, massive error, he's going to be in trouble here, but he got ground and pounded and didn't land the loads, and Pacio kind of survived the first, I suppose, pretty easily, nothing that big really. In the second round, he was kind of shoved against the cage again, but he broke out. Brooks was just so far out of range that he was struggling to get into it. Takedown wasn't there in that second, but he did manage to get the clinch. Every time he did, Pacio broke out of it. Brooks was doing okay on the feet though, and I think that was the one big thing where a lot of people think, all right, if I keep Brooks on the feet, I'll be able to beat him there. In the third round of that fight, it was a clinch. Good takedown defense again, but Brooks again was landing some nice shots on the fence. Pacio, the rounds 3, 4, and 5 of this, big parts of it was just Pacio not doing enough. I was looking at my notes from the last one after watching it here again, just not active enough. There was a rear naked choke attempt late, almost saved by the bell after Brooks took the back. That was probably his best part of the fight. He landed a flying knee in the 5th, got taken down, but it got back up again. Again, here's the difference between this fight and the last fight that I was talking about, where there was bits and pieces where you could see maybe the Ritter could find ways. There was large portions of this where Pacio could find ways. The issue, the later the fight became, he kind of got taken down a little bit more. Like the last 70 seconds, he spent on the ground. But before that, let's say, if you stop Jared Brooks, right? So Jared Brooks, a very, very good wrestler. He just stays on top of you, an absolute blanket. But Pacio was able to stop that. If he could just up it on the feet a little bit, he'd have a real chance of beating him. The problem with that is, right, it's very hard to up it on the feet because you're going to get taken down if you put too much into it. So it's a real catch-22 situation, but you have to do it to win the fight, because Brooks has shown now he's good enough to win a fight in that way. So we'll talk about Brooks again in a second. For Pacio, like a reoccurring theme with him is he's slower than you'd expect for a 115-pounder, right? Probably more powerful than you'd expect as well. He's kind of a steady, smart, accurate pace. He throws spin and stuff. He always throws in combinations, whether, it's and when I say combinations of two, he very rarely throws in one. He very rarely throws in 3 or 4 or 5. It's always two. You know, he throws the right hand and the second shot kind of switches up. You know, he can go through phases where the lead switches. So he might lead with the right hand and throw a kick after. He might lead with the kick and throw the right hand after it. Jabs very well to the body. You know, the one thing I would say for him as well, right? He puts on a big pace after he lands something. It's the landing the thing that is the problem for him sometimes. If he's given reason to, he'll up the pace, but he needs, like, the reason to up the pace should be you're going to win the fucking title, like, you know, a bit of one of them guys who maybe fights within himself a small little bit. He doesn't like the pressure, and I think that's a part of it as well. He wrestles when he is pressured, but he's strong in the clinch. He has good takedowns, you know. Body lock takedowns especially, but against Jared Brooks not really going to happen. He's good control and ground and pound as well, but as I said, the other side of it then on Jared Brooks, like a wrestler, very fast enter. All he wants to do is try to create a transition. He slides around to your back, great BJJ, runs away on the outside, you know, sprints in for takedowns, all action, big slams, very strong for the weight class and way stronger than most guy. As I said, with the striking as well, he'll throw big counters and he looked great on the feet in the first fight. Fires combos when he's wrestling. One might land, you know, and that's great for him. A bit open, the strikes, I would say, is the only thing. So, again, how does this fight differ from the last one? It's tough to look at a fight like this, and we saw it going for 25 minutes. And there's such clear ways for Pacio to change the fight, to make himself more offensively effective. But I'll reiterate that point. That's easy for me to say. Him becoming more offensively effective will just make Jared Brooks' offense more effective. And what's his offense? Takedowns. So it's a real catch-22 situation here. Massive. Look, if you're Pacio, what should you do? Lessen the effect. Okay, stop Brooks taking you down. Try to lessen the effect of Brooks' shots on the feet, and you win the big moments. This fight is scored as a whole. If you can lessen his big moments, up your big moments, stop the takedown, you have a real chance of winning. So I would say he has a big chance of winning. You have to do it, though, early and often. You cannot do what happened in the last fight where you lose big portions of the fourth and fifth. Because unless you have a big knockdown or a big cut or a big damage, it's very unlikely you're going to win the fight, having lost large portions of the last 2 rounds, you know, if it's relatively even. So those are the three things he needs to do. Up your output, lessen his output, or stop him from winning on the feet, and stop the takedown late, right? Stop the takedown early, obviously, but you need to stop it late. That cardio has to be on point. For Brooks, take the opportunities that are given to you is really the only way to say it for him. Hit him on the outside, take him down. I'm picking Malykhin in the main event. I'm going to pick Jared Brooks to win this again. As much as I say Pacio can adjust and learn from this, I think Brooks will probably adjust and learn more. I think he'll watch back that in a different way than I watched it back and probably say, oh, I can take him down here, 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 and here, which maybe he didn't enter the fight with that inkling, and now he can do it. So, yeah, I'd probably pick Brooks to win that one. The other fight on this card, the third rematch, is probably the best fight. The first fight is the best fight of the 3. We just watched it back there, and you know what? It's so interesting to see how the fight scored as a whole kind of changes things, because there's what round was it? The second round. Tang is fighting a kind of an outside controlling game, and Anatoliy is finding it very hard to get in on him, right? But he does in the second round. Tang answers back with a big shot as well. And that kind of evens it up. And then Tang is winning because he's winning the rest of it. In the, I believe it was the 4th round, Tang landed a big left hand, a big left hook. And Thanh Le answered back with another kind of knockdown again. But then late in the round, Tang landed a couple of big shots as well. I just feel like that was the story of the fight, where Thanh Le's shots, biggest shots, were kind of always evening it up a little bit against Tang Kai, who was already ahead because he was winning the general kind of running of the fight. And Thanh Le fought a fight where you need to win those big moments, because Tang was winning. You know, if no big moments happened, Tang would have won. It's scored as a whole, but 50-45. Let's put it that way. And that is the key to this. Thanh Le has to change that. He has to win big moments in this fight. This fight is probably the easiest to predict in terms of how it's going to go this time, right? Unless something major happens, right? But Tang Kai is going to try to kick the leg from the outside, stay on the outside, run around, control the fight, and not get hit by Thanh Le. That's the way he fights. He's very effective at it. He was brilliantly effective at it in winning the first fight, right? Thanh Le on the other side of it has to do something. Again, I said, has to do something big. The one proviso I had from this fight not being the same as the first fight, as I just assumed it would be Thanh Le getting takedowns, right? We know he's very, very good on the ground. Which he showed against Ilya Freemanov. It was only his second submission in his career, but he has it in the locker, you know, and he's got a few ground and pound wins in there as well and stuff. But I think a takedown from him would be big. I really do. I think that would change the general going of the fight, right? Is that necessarily how he wants to fight or usually fights? No, but I think against Tang Kai, you might just need to do that, right? The other side of it then is he has to find, let's say he can't do that, right? Or if that isn't the way, he has to find a way to land big shots. He just has to. You can't fight Tang Kai on the outside again. You just cannot fight him on the outside. You'll be there. You're going to just spend another 25 minutes just waiting for the result, like here, basically. And again, very easy for me to sit here and say that. Very tough to do it against Tang Kai is a genius at controlling the fight on the outside. He's really good at it, like very, very, very good at it. Plus he has power. You know, he's 13 knockouts in 17 fights. It's not like he's just an outside fighter, and he's beaten some good guys in there as well. Jaewon Kim, Keanu Suba, Ed Kelly, and others as well. So I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see what Thanh Le can do in here. You know, that Fremenov fight, he came into that as a big underdog. He won it in a minute. You know, Tang Kai hasn't fought since their last fight, which was in August of 2022. That's definitely a benefit for Thanh Le, who's, you know, as I said again, 38 years of age. Honestly, my prediction earlier of the fight being a very similar fight is one I'm sticking by. I really can't see Thanh Le landing that big shot. He landed a few of them in the first fight, but they were never on the mark completely. That left hook from Tang Kai is just so good as well. If I was to predict this, I think maybe a decision for Tang Kai, or maybe 4th, 5th round finish with that left hook for him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. That's a fantastic fight altogether. Let's talk about a couple of the other fights then on the MMA slate here. Amir Ali Akbari is taking on Arjan Buller, obviously the former champ. You know, two big boys here who you know what you're going to get from them. Arjan Singh Buller, very good. You know, an all-round fighter who hasn't been that active, I suppose, over the years. That Brandon Vera fight where he knocked him down was a massive win for him. Mauro Sorelli, I thought, you know, I liked Mauro Sorelli coming into that fight, but, you know, he's strong in the clinch and with takedowns and everything like that. And I was surprised to see he has no submissions, because he does end up on the ground a lot of the time, especially in his UFC run. From what I remember, he seemed to end up there an awful lot. Amir Ali Akbari has none either, and he ends up on the ground a good bit as well. So look, this is too old school, big meaty men slapping meat. Ali Akbari as well, he seems to have put on a lot of size over the last while, but he's better when he's smaller. But it's interesting, because I remember saying that before one of his recent fights, and then he looked a bit smaller again coming into a fight afterwards. So I'm interested to see where how he looks, but he's strong on top, kind of a slowish striker, which is improved late in his career. Crucifix, smash Mauro Sorelli as well. He's kind of wide open for strikes and he'll swing at him. Whereas Butler's kind of the same. He throw one down the middle, maybe try to be a little bit more technical, but look, someone will probably get hit here. They'll probably fall down, and that'll probably be the end of it. Interesting for Butler. He fought Malykhin, obviously, back in the summer of last year. It was 2021 before he fought, but before that, and 2019 before that. So, look, if he's going to have a late run in his career here, 37 years of age, he probably needs to win this and go on again. What's Malykhin doing? Is he going to let that heavyweight belt go if he wins in the lower weight classes? Who knows? So maybe there could be an interim or vacated belt there, and he could be back in it. So a big fight in that division. I mean, Ali Akbari is probably the one in-form guy in that division. He's won his last 3. Rug is there as well, so maybe that could be a fight that could happen down the line as well. So interesting one in that one. The other fight that I'm very much looking forward to on this fight is Jeremy Miado versus Keito Yamakita. I think this was only added pretty late, but it's a very, very interesting fight, and it's the last MMA fight on the card, the MMA fight that opens up the card. Yamakita didn't fight that long ago, and either did Miado. Yamakita's very nice hooks is the one thing you'd say about him. Good wrestling, good on top. Knees on the ground used very, very, very well. Obviously, they're legal in one championship. He fought on the ground with Alex Silva, and I remember saying last time that says a lot about him. Alex Silva's a beast there for, the strawweights are fantastic. Jeremy Miado, very tall for the weight. I always describe him as moving like Dominic Cruz, but more orthodox. Which, well, he fights out of the orthodox stance. I wouldn't say he's more orthodox. Maybe that's the wrong way of saying it. He kind of races in with combos, likes the uppercut, little bit open for the leg kick. He fights in that wide enough stance. Throws a lovely step-in head kick, a little bit like Cruz or TJ Dillashaw back in the day. Good takedown defense. Enters with power, with very little setup, all 100%, and it works really well for him. He's extremely quick and extremely accurate. Look, this is wrestling against striking. Miado's generally underdog. I actually haven't seen the prices on this one yet, but this could be, Yamakita's probably going to win this, right? But I always like Miado on an underdog price here, so let's see the betting odds on this before we make a final judgment on it. So, that's the main stuff from this card. Anyway, I'm really, really looking forward to it. As I said, a top card from one championship, and if you're thinking about tuning in, do, because I think it'll be good. So, I will leave it there. Thank you to everybody for listening. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a like if you so please. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.